Hello guys, welcome to another good video on the AWS Certified Solutions Architect, and this is for the associate level. And in this video we are going to go over and talk about compute. So we are going to talk about the Elastic Cloud or the Elastic Compute Cloud. Is that what it's called? Something like that. So Elastic Compute Cloud. And this is you need to know this for the AWS Certified Solutions Architect and the associate level. And if you go to the recommended knowledge, you can see over here, you need to know the compute. And in a specific, you need to know this Elastic Compute Cloud and how it works. And also, you need to know hands-on experience on it. So let's go ahead and start with this PowerPoint that I put together for you guys. So let's go ahead and start on Amazon EC2 or Elastic Compute Cloud. And Amazon EC2 is AWS primary web service that provides resizable compute capacity in the cloud. And compute refers to the amount of computational power required to fulfill your workload. And it depends on what you need and what you want as well. That's how you can get the system that you want. It depends on what you need and what you want, right? And EC2 allows you to acquire compute through the launching of virtual services called instances. When you launch an instance, you can make use of the compute as you wish. Just as you would with an on-premises server. Because you're paying for the computing power of the instance, you are charged per hour while the instance is running. So if you're done with an instance, what you could do is you can turn it off because you get charged per hour. Um, so you get paid for what you use, for what you need, and for what you want. When you use, you get charged for per hour. And there's a couple of instances types or instance types. The instance type defines the virtual hardware supporting an Amazon EC2 instance. There are dozens of instance types available, varying in the following dimensions. So you either get a virtual CPS type 1, and that means that this is going to have a lot of more CPU than anything else. Whenever you want to launch a instance that is CPU or that is going to be using a lot of CPU, then you want to launch a CPU heavy instance. And they also have an instance that has a lot of memories on it. So there's a type of instance that you can launch which has lots of memory. And also for storage, there are specific instances that if you just want to, you mainly want good storage in it or a, a, a large amount of storage in it. What you could do is you could pick the size and the type, either a HD, a hard drive, or SSD. And network performance, if you want to have an advanced network on it, you could do as well launch an instance which has pre-configured network performance in it. And there's a couple of instance family. The instance types are grouped into families based on the ratio of these values to each other. For instance, the M4 family is a balance of compute memory and network resources, and it is good choice for many applications. Um, and so here's also a couple families right here, like the C4, that is compute optimized, so it is for workloads requiring significant processing, and the R3, which is memory optimized and is for memory intense workloads. Like I said on the slide before. And the I2 is for storage optimized for workloads requiring high amounts of fast SSD storage. And GPU-based instances, and they are intended for graphics and general purpose GPU compute workloads. If you want to mine Bitcoin, you can launch at G2, and you should be able to do that. And they also have the Amazon Machine Image, and the AMI defines the initial software that will be on an instance when it is launched. An AMI defines every aspect of the software state at an instance launch, in- and this includes the the operating system and its configuration, the initial state of any patches, application or system software. And all AMIs are based on x86 OSs, either Linux or Windows. So whenever you are going to launch a instance with a AMI, you could either pick a Linux or Windows to be on it. And MAI sources, so there's a couple sources that you could have. One is published by AWS, and those are the ones that, of course, are published by AWS, and they also maintain and provide updates and patches and hot fixes to those AMIs. And then we have the AWS workplaces and in the marketplace. And the marketplace is an online store that helps customers find, buy, and immediately start using the software and services that run on Amazon EC2. And then you can do a generator from existing instances, and AMI can be created from existing Amazon EC2 instances. So if you have an instance that is running, you can just like copy it or if you have an instance that is running, you're going to find here that one of that the instance that you're running, you can just copy it and make the same one. If you want to launch the same one, you can just launch the same one this um, from this option. And you can also upload virtual servers. So using the Amazon AWS VM import or export service, customers can create image from various virtualization formats, including RAW, VHD, VMDK, and OVA. And let's take a look at those. If you go to the AWS Management Console, you can go into the compute category and you can go into the EC2. And here we are. And so if we go into instances right here, you can see right here that you can launch an instance. You can do a bunch of other stuff. You can launch start requests, reserve requests, which we are going to talk about later on. But if you want to go to the images, which is the AMIs, you can go over here. Um, you could either do owned by me, public images. Here are the public available images. You can go into the private images, as you can see right here, owned by me. I don't have any right now. There's a bundle tags. We don't have any of those either. Let's go back um, to the EC2 dashboard. And if you want to launch an instance, you can just click over here. And from over here, as you can see, if we go back to this slide, you have the published by AWS. And this is just the quick start right here. This is the one that are published by AWS from the quick start. And the ones that are on the AWS Marketplace. If you go right here to the AWS Marketplace, you can see that you can do it by different like categories. If you want to launch a Barucata, Juniper, Matillion, Trend Micro, Deep Security, any other software. So you can see right here, big data. So you can run a lot of products on AWS. You can either do it by categories like infrastructure, software. You can see that they have network infrastructure. It's probably going to find OpenVPN, Palo Alto, Fortinet, Cisco, and a lot of good stuff over here. And if you go into the generator from existing instances, so we don't have that because we don't have any right now running, so that's why the tab is not there. But if you go to the community AMIs, here you can see instances that were uploaded to the cloud by people, right, by other people, and they just publish it to the cloud. But the bad thing about this one is that they do not provide like updates or anything like that. So if you're going to run a an AMI and you wanted to have auto updates and upgrades and all that, then you want to run one by AWS Marketplace, right? Or you can just go to Quick Start and you can see that Amazon has it's free tier eligible, and this is the Amazon one over here. So you can run a bunch of them, but you can launch a Red Hat Enterprise, but you're going to need a license for that. You can also run Windows Server, but you also are going to need a license for that as well. So just keep that in mind. And addressing an instance. There are several ways that an instance may be addressed over the web upon creation. Either the public domain name system. When you launch an instance, AWS create a DNS name that can be used to access the instance, and you can just access the instance via that name that AWS gives you. And they also have a public IP address that they're going to give you. So a launched instance may also create a public IP address assigned to it, and you can use the public IP address to um, get to that instance. And they also have what is called elastic IP, and an elastic IP address is an address unique on the internet that you reserve independently and associate with an Amazon EC2 instance. And the initial access, whenever you are going to first have the initial access with the EC2. So Amazon uses a public key cryptographic to encrypt and decrypt the login information, and the public key cryptography uses a public key to encrypt a piece of data and associated a private key to decrypt the data with. And they give you the private key so you can use it whenever you're going to access your EC2. And these two key togethers are called a key pair. And key pairs can be created through the AWS Management Console or CLI or API, or customers can upload their own key pairs as well. And to protect your AWS, AWS allows you to control traffic in and out of your instances through virtual firewalls called security groups. And security groups allow you to control traffic based on port, protocol, and source and destination. And security groups are associated with instances when they are launched. Every instance must have at least one security group, but can have more security groups. And security groups is the default, and a security group by default, what it does is it denies everything. That is, it does not allow any traffic that is not explicitly allowed by a security group rule. So it's just like the S3. By default, you cannot publicly um, access your S3 storage, right? So you have to explicitly allow access to that S3. It is the same way on the EC2. So as you can see right here, the attributes and what you can assign to them. So the attribute port, that's the port number affected by this rule. For instance, port 80 for HTTP traffic. So if you're going to host let's say a website on your EC2, you can go ahead and do that, and then you want to allow port 80 for HTTP, and for HTTPS, you want to allow port 443, I believe it is. And the protocol, that's the communication standard for the traffic affected by this rule. So if you want to allow HTTP or HTTPS, you could do that, or you could either do it by port number as well. And the source and destination, this identifies the other end of the communication, the source for the incoming traffic rules or the destination for the outgoing traffic rules. The source or destination can be defined in two ways: a CDR block, right, which is the IP address, and then you put the prefix in it, a style definition that defines a specific range of IP addresses. Or you could do the security group, includes any instance that is associated with the given security group. This helps prevent coupling security group rules with a specific IP addresses. And more on security groups. A security group is a stateful firewall. That is, an outgoing message is remembered so that the response is allowed through the security group without an explicit inbound rule being required. The effect of this is that instead of having the breach a single perimeter to access all the instances in your security group, an attacker will have to breach the security group repeatedly for each individual instance, which is kind of cool. And for instances outside of an Amazon VPC, called the EC2 Classic, the association of the security groups cannot be changed after launch. So only on VPC you can edit the security group after the launch. But for the EC2, um, after you launch the EC2 instance, uh, you cannot edit that security group. So yeah, just remember that. Then bootstrapping. So what is bootstrapping? This is another that you need to remember. It is a great benefit of the cloud. Benefit of the cloud is the ability to script virtual hardware management in a manner that is not possible with on-premises hardware. And so in order to realize the value of this, there has to be some way to configure instances and install applications um, pro- programmatically, programmatically when an instance is launched. I just butchered that word. The process of providing code to be run on an instance at launch is called bootstrapping. So whenever you run a script and it runs every time you launch an instance, it is called bootstrapping. Just remember that. And bootstrapping strings, there's a couple of strings that you could do. One of the parameters when an instance is launched is a string value called user data. This string is passed to the operating system to be executed as part of the launch process the first time the instance is booted. And the script can be performed tasks such as applying patches and updates to the OS, enrolling in an Active Directory service, or installing application software. Just remember that user data is stored with the instance and is not encrypted. So it's important to not include any secrets such as passwords or keys in the user data because anybody could see that traffic because it's not encrypted. And there's another settings that you could do is a VM import export. So in addition to importing virtual instances as AMIs, VM import exports enables you to easily import virtual machines from existing environment has an Amazon EC2 instance and export them back to your own premises environment. But you can only export previously imported Amazon EC2 instances. Okay, you can only export previously imported Amazon EC2 instances. Just remember that. And instance metadata is the data about your instance that you can use to configure or manage the running instance. This is unique in that it is a mechanism to obtain AWS properties of the instance from within the OS without making a call to the AWS API. So let's say that an HTTP call to this IP address right here will return to the top node of the instance metadata tree. Instance metadata includes a wide variety of attributes, including the following, which is the associated security groups, the instance ID, the instance type, the AMI used to launch the instance, and a lot more. So you can just go ahead on and go to the Amazon website. You can find a lot more um, instance metadata that could be launched. And this is it for this video. And on the next video, we are going to talk about modifying an instance, managing an instances, and pricing options for those instances, and how much they cost per hour, and how you can save money with different types that they have there. So in this video, we talk about the instance metadata, the VM export, bootstrapping, security groups, right, that you can allow and deny traffic from port number, protocol, source, and destination. We talk about the virtual firewall, which is indeed the security groups. The initial access, how you need to have the um, public key pair or the key pairs for you to be able to open the EC2, to have access to the EC2. You need to have that private key and how you are going to access that instance either by the public domain name or the IP address that AWS gives you. And I also give you the AMI sources, which is they have a couple categories, which is the one by published by AWS, AWS Marketplace, or generated from existing instances, and also uploaded virtual services, which is actually just the public ones. We went over what the Amazon machine image is. We went over the instances family like computer optimized, memory optimized, storage optimized, and GPU based instances. We went over the EC2 instances and what they are, and we talk about what the compute is and all that good stuff. So this is it for this video, guys. And if you guys enjoyed this video, why don't you just go ahead and follow me on Twitter at CCNA Daily Tips if you enjoy this video. And also, if you don't have a Twitter account, go ahead and create a Twitter account and then follow me on Twitter. This is it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I love you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.